We have some massive moves planned for the Phoenix Suns in this offseason as Matt Ishbia revealed his master plan for being more hands-on with this Phoenix Suns team this off-season. And that is bringing a lot of concerns and questions from Suns fans around the Valley, including how much this is going to impact Brian Gregory's role within the GM position. So we're going to be diving in, we're going to be exploring all of this news and how it realistically affects this Phoenix Suns roster. Welcome back to Suns Digest. I am Bruce Veliz, and I want to say shout out and thank you all for coming to the live stream today, this afternoon/evening. For me, it was absolutely fantastic. We got to break down and talk about everything Phoenix Suns, revolving the coach, revolving around potential draft prospects, and even looking at who could be traded and what else could the Suns get back. I want to say thank you guys for coming by and hanging out this evening, and if you liked the content or missed that stream, definitely go check that one out. But without further ado, we're going to dive into the news at hand today, so make sure to grab that snack and let's get into it, as this is not great for Phoenix Suns fans personally, in my opinion, and I think that this should be a little bit of a major concern for the team heading into this season. And we've already seen the rumblings of the Suns making some key off-season moves, right? They went out yesterday, they hired their head coach in Jordan Ott, and yes, he has those Michigan State ties, but overlook that, please, as Jordan Ott is a qualified enough head coach, and I think he's going to be a solid enough guy for this Phoenix Suns job. But we all know the questionable hiring was Brian Gregory, his Michigan State buddy, someone that didn't have the qualifications to realistically be a general manager in the NBA. And now Matt Ishbia comes out and kind of reveals in this latest article posted by Gerald Bourget here of PHNX Sports, saying that he sent an internal letter to the Suns basketball operations today, taking accountability for not establishing a culture, praising Brian Gregory for his interview process, and hailing the hiring of Jordan Ott as a milestone. Some insight on the Suns' new head coach. And Gerald did a fantastic job in this article, so definitely, ladies and gentlemen, go check this one out if you have not already. It came out yesterday, and I'm a little bit late on the news, but I definitely wanted to get it out for you guys. But in this article, we heard a lot about Jordan Ott in the coaching search, and I talked about Jordan Ott, and we'll have a video later coming out tonight talking about the real reason why the Suns hired Jordan Ott. And no, it's not because of those Michigan State connections, ladies and gentlemen, but we hear from Gerald here talking about Ishbia and the Suns basketball operations and the letter that he sent. He said, according to another source, Ishbia emailed the Suns basketball operations team internally on Wednesday, taking accountability for not doing enough to establish a culture and identity in Phoenix. The Suns owner stated that he tried running the typical NBA owner's playbook of hiring experts, signing checks, and getting out of the way, but no one was happy with the outcome. Now, despite insisting that he is not reviewing film, designing offenses, or running the draft room, Ishbia intends to be extremely active in the decisions and management. He acknowledged has his more unconventional approach as an owner is to ensure the Suns get back to the requisite level of winning that's been about the last few years. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a little bit scary. He also noted that winning the press conference or reacting to hot takes or external narratives is no longer his concern, and he understands some of his decisions will be unpopular, but iterated that he won't make decisions to generate favorable headlines. Wow. What that screams really to me, and looking at this key point here, and there's a lot to really break down with all of this here. This key point here, this last one, screams to me that he's not going to go out for those flashy players or big name stars similar to what the Suns did with going out and getting Bradley Beal, or even if you want to say getting Kevin Durant in that trade for Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, and going and trying to get just role players or pieces that can really fit around Booker, which is something he talked about in the press conference, which I liked. But this is the weird part here, right? Where is it? Right here. That he got out of the way. I don't know if Matt Ishbia got out of the way. Sam Cooper, obviously, talked about this as well. We knew that you were behind the KD and Beal trade. Stop gaslighting us. And yeah, that's basically 100% the truth. We know that there was an offer out for Kevin Durant from the Nets with the Suns basically the whole season. It was reported basically. And then when Ishbia got hired 2 days later, they got Kevin Durant. Matt Ishbia signed off on that deal. There is no way to explain that any other way. We all know that Bradley Beal and the Phoenix Suns, when Bradley Beal was available in trade from the Wizards, that wasn't the first destination. It was more of a surprise destination. And we all know that Josh Bartelstein, the CEO of basketball operations and working in this front office as well, has a good close relation to Matt Ishbia. And his dad is actually Bradley Beal's agent. So Matt Ishbia, you can't be saying that you haven't done anything and you've let the experts handle things, because That's not true at all. You 100% have allowed your fingerprints to be laid over on everything, and now you're saying you're going to be more hands-on than ever? I don't really know if I'm very happy with hearing this statement, and I think this resonates with a lot of Suns fans, not just myself, because we all know that this team has been put into this purgatory, right, by having these albatross contract in Bradley Beal. And that's unfortunately why Kevin Durant has to be traded, right? Kevin Durant wants to stay in the Valley. The Suns fans want Kevin Durant to be here. But the only way for them to realistically kind of retool this roster or rebuild this roster is to get out of this Kevin Durant contract, because Bradley Beal's contract is untradeable. And we talked about that in the video earlier today with the reports from Gambo that if the only way they can get out of him is a sign-in waiver, and that's only if Bradley Beal agrees to that. And that still leaves the door open for Bradley Beal to still be on this roster starting in training camp, which is just a big, big wow if you had asked Suns fans at the beginning of the offseason if Bradley Beal would have been gone. And if they hear that he'll still be on this roster, it's not going to be great. And Matt Ishbia, as we all know, was one of those people that really wanted to get that trade done, similar to the Durant trade. And I don't fault him for the Durant trade. I fault this front office for the Bradley Beal move and for the DeAndre Ayton move, not for the fact that they needed to get those upgrades, right? Obviously, it was clear the Suns needed another scorer in that playoff run when they lost to the Denver Nuggets. But going out and getting a player on a no-trade clause, $50 million contract that's all offensive when two of your other star players play that role is a no-go. Specifically when you know that the second apron restrictions in that new CBA is coming into effect that next off season. It's not like the Suns were surprised by any of this. They knew what they were walking into with three $50 million contracts, and they walked into it with their hands up high. And that's where you have that major concern with me. And ultimately, DeAndre Ayton, as well, as we all know, would have been obviously a better bid than Jusuf Nurkic for this Suns team, in my opinion. But as we all see, did not have that great relationship with the Phoenix Suns. But there was a time where he could have went to Indiana and the Suns could have done a sign and trade and gotten off of him before that problem continued to arise and had to trade him for basically scraps. Or the Suns could have went out and gotten even a better package that suited their team and getting back smaller salaries or more comfortable salaries than taking on an Nazir Little that got stretched and waived as now is just on the books for the next 4 seasons. These are the key instrumental losses that this Phoenix Suns team and this Phoenix Suns front office has made that have screwed up this organization, put them into this spot of just really being into a disaster and a laughingstock of other franchises looking around, seeing them desperately trade away their 2031 pick to get 3 first-rounders to try to move off Bradley Beal, and being so set on one destination of bringing in a guy in Jimmy Butler and being not able to do it, and with the pure fact of that, having to basically just scrap off the rest of their trade deadline, only trade off Jusuf Nurkic to get below the first apron, and just say, well, we'll deal with it next offseason. That is not great management. And for Matt Ishbia to now be saying that he wants to be more hands-on, he wants to be more tailored with this ultimately does scare me for Phoenix Suns fans and for this front office in the direction that we do go. Now, I do believe that ultimately we will see a decent return for Kevin Durant here for the Suns, some playable contracts, maybe even some draft picks thrown in there as well that can help out the Suns either in this draft or in the future drafts to really build their capital back. But I'm really interested to see what they do with other contracts. Guys like Grayson Allen, guys like Royce O'Neal, do they value them on this team? Are there other assets that can go out and get on the open market that benefit us a little bit more that maybe a guy like Grayson or Royce could go help out and benefit? I know there's a plethora of teams that need shooting, and Grayson Allen's $16 million contract is a pretty tradable contract across the NBA for 3 seasons for the Suns to go out and get a defensive wing or center on that valuable deal. I think that there are possibilities out there, and we're all going to have to wait to see what Matt Ishbia, what Brian Gregory, and ultimately what this front office really decides to do this offseason, as this is going to be the telltale sign for the Phoenix Suns in what direction they are heading. Are they going to be trending upward, or are they going to be staying stagnant and potentially even going even worse towards the bottom? Ultimately, I do believe with this roster that it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be a flashy show with the Phoenix Suns, but I do think we will see a more hard, competitive, and equally better offensively and defensively worked roster. And even if the record doesn't show it, you will not be turning off your game at halftime or in the third quarter because the game is virtually over before the fourth even started. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you ultimately think on this Phoenix Suns team, and I really appreciate all your guys' support on the channel. So let me know down below in the comment section what you guys ultimately think of this team's direction. Once again, I'll be signing off. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns.